Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Spirituality podcast. This is Time for Talking, or Emeris from timefortalking.com, spiritual mentoring for your body, mind and soul. I'm your host on this show. In this podcast, you'll receive insights on all topics spirituality inspired from above for spiritual growth, awakening, remembering, soul purpose, life mission, divine inspiration, past lives, and much more. Thanks for tuning in. So now let's dive in and talk spirituality. Today I like to talk to you about how to gain past life insights without any past life regression, as this is not needed at all, and what kind of benefits you will get with these insights. This episode you ought to listen to from start to finish, as it contains so many insights you really don't want to miss. I'm always working on past lives and also their timelines, either for myself or for clients. And the insights one gains through this are simply mind-blowing. You will know already, or you can find out, how you connect with Source or the Divine. Once you know this, simply use this connection to get your past life information. Use psychic tools, meditation, automatic writing, your clair abilities, as you might receive messages by hearing, seeing, feeling, or within your thoughts, or whatever tool suits you. But we all have a direct and innate connection to Source or the Divine, and so no past life regression is needed for you to dive deep into your past lives. Simply use direct questions about your past lives and receive the direct and specific answers. This way, you will also find out all the reasons for every soul playing a certain role in one or more of your past lives, which usually isn't given to people having a past life regression. And wouldn't you rather work on your ever-growing past lives timeline, or simply many past lives yourself, rather than only having one regression and only look at a couple of events in one or possibly two lifetimes, and then go home and be left to your own devices on how to incorporate the gained knowledge into your life, etc.? And also not understanding the reason behind certain behavior, roles, events, and so forth? It's quite easy to go about this, and one really gets guided through this process all the way, as we are always led directly to the lifetimes that are important for us right now. Say you had 1,000 lifetimes before, which you don't all recall at this present moment. So it does help immensely to know that we are fully guided in this process of accessing our past lives. I always find that there is a complete structure shown to us for healing and resolving of issues, purposes. In the way one gets guided to ask the fitting questions, and subsequently one gets to any needed past life in perfect timing. But I can really recommend you working on your past lives as well. You will discover so much, like patterns. It teaches you a lot of forgiveness, understanding, acceptance, and love for yourself and others. What I noticed with this is something about our soul group or soul family as well. Many say everyone close to us always belongs to our soul family, but this simply is not true, as it's not that straightforward. I've come across many cases where not all family members were part of the person's soul group, so one does need to check and verify this for each and every individual person first of all, and one cannot generalize this. However, I learned that if someone out of your soul group does something significant in a lifetime, say something quote-unquote humanly bad, then it is usually an agreement between both of your souls. And you remember then that any agreement was only made between you and this other soul out of unconditional love for one another. However, if someone not in your soul group does something like that, then it is not likely to be an agreement, and so it will have a slightly different impact on you. And on that note, I found out that when someone from your soul group, by agreement, does something, let's say, not so humanly nice to you in a past life, when you meet that soul in a future lifetime, you are not going to have an inner dislike toward that person. That only happens with souls who did something not so nice to you, but without any agreement. When meeting that soul in a future lifetime, you are likely to have a total dislike toward that person, as your soul remembers that past event and also that it wasn't agreed before. However, On very few occasions, if it's necessary on our path, we might also meet a soul again after that soul did something not so humanly nice without any agreement, and when you meet, you might not have an instant dislike. Often this is the case when certain healing is still required, for which it's needed and necessary to establish a new connection in this lifetime. And to be able to do this, our soul does not give us any hints then about our dislike toward that other soul. Also, the reason for actually meeting such a soul in another lifetime again is twofold. The first would be if some kind of healing would still be necessary, as mentioned before. But second, also to give that soul another chance, so to speak, to attempt acting with more love towards your soul. But as it's that soul's free choice, that person might do that or not. If the latter is the case, that subsequently would result in further lifetimes that soul is putting into motion for itself, in which working on becoming more love-filled and loving towards others. I've also learned the following about soul groups. Say part of your soul group is your father in this lifetime, but with this it's important to understand that yes, he'll be part of your soul group, but his own additional soul group might include others that are not part of your soul group. But something important to remember regarding the timeline itself. As time is just an illusion in our earthly incarnation, all our lives are actually happening right now and not in a linear fashion of one after the other. Though naturally this is rather impossible to grasp with our limited human minds. But not grasping something does not mean that it's not true, something to remember. So when one looks at human timelines of past lives, yes, you'll come across and use years and dates, as this helps in the human experience for some context. But you will also even come across parallel lives within that timeline, proving that we are truly living in an actual multiverse. And I have learned from the divine that actually almost every life has a parallel life to it. This is done that way simply to get in more lifetimes. And during certain historic events, we simply want to experience multiple lives as well, to take in as many possible experiences during such events. I usually find that those parallel lives are the total mirror opposite, but with the same outline or setting. For example, you being rich in one life, and in the parallel life you are poor. You being well educated in one life, and in the parallel life you are not educated at all. You being happy in one life, and in the parallel life, in a very similar setting, you are experiencing a rather unhappy existence, and so forth. But past lives, even without any parallel lifetimes, teach us so much about ourselves and about other people in our lives. Past lives show us the why and the how and the who of everything and everyone in your current and all past lives. They guide us to healing, remembering, and resolving issues, and also show how many of our lives are actually fully intertwined and connected. It also teaches us what life is really all about. As when looking at our past lives, it won't be about your figure, or about your hairstyle, or your clothes, or your looks, or your body, or your money, or your property, or your title, but only about your actions and your behavior and thoughts and emotions, nothing more. And with all these different roles we play, our bodysuits are seriously not important at all. It's actually rather distracting when knowing someone in a certain body, but then also learning about all these other roles and thus all these other bodies. Remember, it's the soul that reincarnates, not our body. The divine gave me the following analogy to deal with this better. Think of when you watch a movie. Afterwards, when you talk or think about certain characters in that movie, you'll be seeing the actor or actress who played that character in your mind's eye. Now think of you reading a book. There, you will create your own image of the characters in your mind's eye. So, when you know someone in this life and you also find out about other lifetimes with that person's soul, playing out different roles, try to view the person as if reading a book, rather than watching a movie. This will help. It also teaches us to learn as much as you can about your past lives, and once you are in the know, so to speak, to act upon it now, as it will only get more challenging if you wait another lifetime before you resolve something. And a fun aspect of this all, checking your very own past lives is really absolutely exciting. Sometimes it's a thriller with suspense, or with shocking events, or even a comedy, or a love story, or whatever you experienced before. It also makes you realize what types of lives you already experienced and what you did or didn't do. Learning and getting this really makes us humble the next time we like to complain that we, quote unquote, never do anything exciting in our life. And that's when the forgiveness comes in. Forgiving others for the roles they played, possibly hurting you, but also yourself for the roles you played, hurting others or yourself. Or what we did that caused additional lifetimes to be put into motion that could have been avoided. So it's all about love for everyone, yourself included. But all of this is not a movie you are watching. You are finding out the facts and you are reliving them by remembering it all. And so one also has physical reactions to all of this, as tears, total shock, amazement and more are not far when looking at your past lives. As I said, you will find out all about yourself, how lives are interconnected, and how you meet known souls in different roles, even outside of your soul group and soul family. It does prove as well that there are truly no coincidences, and also that karmic situations always catch up with us. And the longer one needs before resolving and healing something, the more dramas one will experience, and this over several additional lifetimes that otherwise might have been not needed for us. This can also be clearly shown with suicides. All of us will have ended our lives at some point in the past, or if not yet, will do this in a future life. And though there is no judgment about this, but apart from us having to redo a lifetime almost straight away to finish our missed out life plans in that life we ended, basically just starting as a newborn again to actually do live the life we planned for ourselves before. But on top of that, I always see how such an event also creates many additional future lifetimes with specific dramas for us to experience to get the message on why love would act differently. And this might go on over hundreds of years. So, if one likes to avoid all of that, suicide cannot be an option. But learning about your past lives also gives you hope and determination for living out your life, especially when the going gets tough, so to speak. As knowing what you've gone through already, no matter what horrible, difficult and challenging event you've gone through before, but you came out of it unharmed as you are still here. And so this can give you the strength and the knowing that you can also be able to stick out your life this time. But also gaining insights about your past lives will take away all sorts of fears, simply through the deeper understanding of each life. Say, for example, you died in a past life from lung cancer or similar, which was caused by smoking. Now, in this life, you always had wondered why you were so adamant right from an early age that you were against smoking. Then you know why. Or, say you always have a fear of dying of a certain cancer. Again, this might have happened to you before. And here is the great thing. By knowing this, you can actually also check whether any healing is still required for you on that. If not, then your fear will and can go away, as you will understand you've done that already and there is no need for you having to repeat it. Should you learn any healing would still be required, you can do that and then the fear will dissipate too. And this is just one example how this gained understanding helps you in your life. But remember, we incarnate to experience everything. But once we've done it, if no healing is required, then we'd be really done with it and will not have to repeat that experience. You will also find out whether there are still active vows of various kinds you might still be living with, subconsciously, and so much more. There are so many layers one can dive into with this. But on a lighter note, apart from being rather insightful and exciting, it can also be quite funny. When you realize what you did in the past and find out all the nitty-gritty details about it, you really just have to laugh sometimes. Also, say you learn you were killed in a lifetime, and when checking who killed you, whether it was someone from your soul group, when that is actually the case, again you have to laugh and say to yourself, of course it was. And one even remembers and recalls then how you met after such lifetime, where one killed the other, and that you both met on the other side and eagerly ask each other, and how was that for you? Referring to the killing or getting killed. So there are lots of tears of shock and healing, but also due to funny insights. And it really changes your perspective and your view of life, as you can honestly say it's really all just a game. It also lets you become more humble as you might have had negative thoughts towards someone, say your ex-partner, husband or wife, and before you had thought good riddance, just to find out that they are actually part of your soul group and you will be eternally living future lifetimes together. Now that will be a shocking thought for many. You also really learn to forgive and understand what we came here for. And there is the tricky part, especially when you dive into your past lives, learn all the connections, reasons, and put all the pieces together, only to still interact with others in this lifetime of whom you know now what they had done to you in another life, big, small, horrific, or whatever. This can be a challenge, especially if the other person is not open to spirituality and you couldn't even share this with them. But this helps you to grow on your path of living love, light, and peace. And as you found out these details, it's even important for your very own path, as otherwise you wouldn't have gained this knowledge. It also takes away the fear of death, as when you realize how many times you died already before, even in many horrific ways, but always came back, it puts a lighter note onto death as well. It also changes one's perspective on our relationships on the other side, after our earthly deaths. As for example, someone is looking forward to be meeting the mother, father, sibling, friend, grandmother, grandfather on the other side, and yes, we'll be meeting all of them, but where, say, someone was looking forward to meet their mother, it puts an entire different spin onto it all as well. As when you meet her, yes, you and her will recall this lifetime where she was your mother and you the son or the daughter, but at the same time you both will also have complete downloads of the lives where she was, say, your husband or your grandfather or whoever, really emphasizing that it's really all only a game. And the love we feel for one another is not only for the mother-child bond, to stick with this example, but also as we simply love everyone in heaven, and this regardless of any roles they played in lifetimes. Something to understand and think about. So after we have been reunited with loved ones from this lifetime, and once we have adjusted to the other side fully again, then we'll have that complete download of all past lifetimes and what different roles we all, for example, the members of your soul family, played. And thus then it simply comes down to the eternal love on the other side, which will be magnified in ways us in a human experience right now cannot even comprehend. And this love will be regardless of our past roles. But we will always share those past experiences together. And after all, that is what this game we call life was and is all about. So it also puts a rather different spin onto the entire topic of human love, when we are in our roles too. We are love and we come from love and will return to love. Now we experience various roles in our incarnations, where we experience different types of human love. Say the love towards a child, to parents, siblings, friends, partners, husbands, wives, animals, and so forth. Sure, all of those are human experiences of love. But as we are truly only love, when we return home, loving everyone, that specific human love to a specific role gets turned around a bit or gets even magnified. Just think of you loving your husband or wife in a lifetime. After you both die and you meet back home, yes, you will still love each other, but more in a love within the ultimate reality, as your husband or wife might have also been your child, with whom you experienced a different form of human loving bond, or your persecutor, for whom you did not feel any human love in a lifetime. Thus, it's a deep rabbit hole one can go into or at least think about. And so, once you realize and understand all of this, the human notion or thought of once in a lifetime love or my one and only love for all eternity is simply ridiculous, as those statements are basically not true, as we have multiple lifetimes in all sorts of roles together. I also learned that on the other side we can and will choose any form regarding our looks from any of our past lives that we feel most comfortable with. But naturally, we can also always change that, so we are not going to be stuck with any form. Working with your past lives also makes you understand and realize how divinely collaborated our lives are, i.e., that divinity guides every single life. Take someone doing something humanly not so positive to someone else in a lifetime, even if that wasn't planned by an agreement between the two of you. Regardless, it will still perfectly work for and fit for that person's life, but also the person's life this was done to. Realizing this by seeing it actually playing out like that in certain past lives, and you observe and realize this, is absolutely amazing. Also, the more you work with and spend time with your past lives, the more signs and messages you will receive about them. Honestly, it's always happening like right, left, and center, which proves as well that our dive into this is fully divinely guided too, as otherwise, quite naturally, we would not receive any messages about it. However, once you stop working with or on your past lives, those messages will subside, proving that we draw to us what we send out and that like attracts like. So you see why I do so highly recommend you also working on establishing your past lives timeline, or at least start working and then continuously work with your past lives and the insights you will gain from them. It will enrich your life more than you can imagine, empower yourself, guide you to healing and resolving past issues. It lets you dissolve any vows you took, understand life fully, as you'll get answers to all the why questions and more. And subsequently, with all of this, there is the potential of you setting yourself up for much nicer future lifetimes as well, as you resolved your past already. So to our insights and deep discoveries within our past lives. Should you require some help with this, as you are not sure how to get these messages and answers yourself, my spiritual mentoring is for that as well. As it's always 100% tailor-made to the client's needs and wishes, many choose to use it for working with their past lives and past lives timelines as well, over a longer period of time to really dive in deep. And so we can work together for you to gain all those wonderful insights, and I can help you to incorporate the gained knowledge then into your daily life as well, and so much more. Do bear in mind that you will need to always sit with any gained past life knowledge, but with time, more and more questions will arise in you, which is not a problem with my longer consultation programs. But a regression is only a one-off event, whereas I can offer you the time for you to actually sit with it and to let it all sink in, and over a longer period of time answering all of your questions when they come up for you as well. And of course, you can learn how to access more and more of these details yourself. Try it. You will be amazed how helpful these insights are for your current life. You'll wonder why you didn't start with that already years ago. I look forward to hearing from you. That's all for now. Get inspired. Thanks for listening till the end. You can always reach me on timefortalking.com with white light from here.